Welcome to the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL daily. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving and got to enjoy some good food and family time. Plus, there were some games on, so maybe you got to enjoy some football as well. This weekend, as far as Saints football goes, they are at 4-7 Miami. The Dolphins are coming off a bye week and back-to-back wins. The Saints are looking to bounce back into the win column after a disappointing loss to Atlanta last week. Joe Schad, Dolphins beat writer for the Palm Beach Post, will join me today to break down the opponent. I also have an interview with Paris Musketeers coach Jack Del Rio, who spent a few days back at the Saints facility with the team this past weekend. And Austin Pasco, our senior manager of youth football development, has an interview with Bonnabel High School head football coach Andre Anthony to talk about his first year leading the team. Let's start it off with Joe Schad on the Dolphins. Joe, thank you for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's good to see you and talk to you a little bit about this matchup coming up this weekend, but how are you? How's the week going?
Going well. I just took a little trip to the Bahamas and on the Dolphins bye week, so I came back rested and healthy, just like several of the Dolphins players who are returning from injury.
Yeah, that's nice. I'm a little jealous that you got to do that on your bye week. Geez. And then we're going into Thanksgiving. So holiday season's right around the corner. A lot of fun stuff. And the Dolphins are coming off 2 wins before the bye. So how has this team been playing as the season's gone on? It seems like they've started to catch their rhythm a little bit more.
Yeah, 1-6 was a disastrous start. Everyone was talking about when Coach Mike McDaniel will get fired and who will replace Tua Tagovailoa. But this team has rallied. The players continue to give effort. They've won 2 in a row, like you said, 3 of 4. And the Dolphins are viewing their upcoming games against the Saints and Jets as a chance to improve to 6-7. 6-7. So, my 13-year-old daughter loves when I reference 6-7 on social media, but that's the Dolphins' small goal right now, to try to get back to 6-7.
What has been the key in the past couple games? Obviously had that big trip to Madrid, played overseas against the Commanders. It was not the cleanest game, but you come out with the win.
The Dolphins' defense has made some slow improvements. Erin, one of the things they did this year was inject a bunch of rookies. And when you're playing 2 or 3 rookie defensive linemen, a rookie corner, a rookie safety all at the same time, there are going to be mistakes. And there were a lot of mistakes earlier in the season. So the Dolphins' defense has slowly improved. Their run defense has made some pretty vast improvements. They were horrendous earlier in the season. And I think the Dolphins have slowly adjusted to life without Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle has emerged as the legitimate, true number 1 receiver in the NFL. And Devon Achane is probably the best player on the Dolphins. He is the Dolphins' Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. He's their do-it-all guy and probably their team MVP at this point.
I was talking to Teron Armstead earlier this week, and he loves Devon Achane, could not stop talking about him. What have you seen from Achane this season that just stands out?
Yeah, he's a little guy, but he's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. And Achane is a weapon between the tackles and outside the tackles and in the passing game. So he's very versatile. He doesn't say much, Devon, but he does all his talking on the field. It kind of reminds me of like a Warwick Dunn, if you remember that name from the Atlanta Falcons and Florida State Seminoles back in the day. He's just an explosive, dynamic threat who really fits well into this Mike McDaniel offense. And he's only got 1 year left on his rookie contract. So whoever the next general manager is for the Dolphins, that should be job 1 to extend Devon Achane, one of the most exciting young offensive players in the NFL.
You mentioned the uncertainty around Mike McDaniel, the coach there. How did the team navigate the start of the season and kind of stick together to where they're at now?
They like Mike McDaniel. He is a player's coach. He's followed a guy in Brian Flores who was a good football coach, but not a player's coach by any means. He was all about discipline and toughness and structure and organization. And Mike is one of the best people I've met. He this is sort of not specific to your question, but sort of related.
Mhm.
A couple of years ago, I had two significant eye surgeries. And Mike followed up about how I was doing and even wrote me a nice note. So what the point I'm making is that this is a coach that cares about people. I mean, heck, if he cares about me, imagine how much he cares about his players.
Yeah.
So I think that they're unlikely to quit on him. I think that they want him to stay around. And I think Dolphins owner Stephen Ross is getting what he hoped for, which is a continued good effort.
You mentioned the run defense. I was looking at it. Yes, the numbers aren't great. They're fourth worst in the league in that area. So, of course, with the Saints lens on, I'm hoping that the Saints can finally get their run game going. But then you mentioned that it's been improved. So, how do you see that area of this game playing out?
Yeah, Jordan Brooks is the Dolphins linebacker who leads the NFL in tackles. He's aggressive. He's physical. He's violent. He's our Demario Davis, and he needs the young defensive tackles in front of him to continue to improve. And otherwise, he's going to be making all those tackles 5, 6, 10 yards down the field.
Mhm.
So I think, that combined with the Dolphins needing to get better pass rush, the Dolphins traded Jalen Phillips, who's made an immediate impact for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that in this particular game, second-year player Chop Robinson, who was the Dolphins' first-year draft pick out of Penn State last year, had a chance to get on track, and he's had a very disappointing start with only one sack so far this season. But I just have a feeling that Chop Robinson and Bradley Chubb are going to find their way to the quarterback in this game.
How are they against the pass? If they're giving up so much yardage on the ground, is that usually the main way that teams try to attack them?
Yeah, the Dolphins signed their starting corners like right before the season, which is never ideal. So they got off to slow starts. Rasul Douglas, who is likely to return from a couple of games of injury, the former Buffalo Bill, at one corner, and Jack Jones. I always smile when I say Jack Jones because he's such an emotional cat and he's got so much positive energy. And he's also got these gold teeth or diamond teeth. I don't know what they are. The what are they called when you wear the
Grills, right?
grills? Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I know.
I
Kool-Aid McKinstry has a full diamond one, and I don't understand it. I don't know how you have that much money in your mouth and are not afraid that it's,
I just hope he doesn't misplace it. But
yeah.
those young veterans have exceeded expectations and they've improved and they've gotten more comfortable in this zone scheme. The Dolphins early in the season were giving up way too many passing yards and underneath routes to slot receivers, tight ends, and running backs. And they sort of tightened up their coverage as they've gotten more familiar with defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver's scheme. So to answer your question, the pass defense has improved. In fact, Jack Jones had a very important interception in overtime to help the Dolphins win that last game in Spain against the Commanders.
hmm Look, going back to the offensive side of the ball and the way that Tua Tagovailoa has improved as the season's gone on, he has 13 interceptions on the season, and when he doesn't throw an interception in a game, the Dolphins are 3-1. So obviously, turnover has become a huge factor in the way games are decided. What have you seen in terms of his improvement throughout the season and where he's at now?
I think that Tua has had to develop comfort with other players. And when I say other, I mean players not named Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, because so much of the offense relies on them and Devon Achane and Darren Waller, for example, emerged at tight end earlier in the season as a target that Tua was comfortable with. Darren Waller goes down for 4 games.
Mhm.
Now he has a chance to play on Sunday, which would certainly help him. But there are a lot of young players, first and second year players, a first year free agent that Tua, so much of this offense, Aaron, is based on timing, rhythm, anticipation, and trust and throwing to very quickly to where he anticipates the receivers to be. If you look at Tua Tagovailoa's interceptions in recent years, a very high percentage of them are when intended for number 3, 4, and 5 targets. So I think that as he's gained a little more comfort with throwing to different players,
Mhm.
that has made an impact. But the big thing for Tua, he's played every game. Knock on marble, I guess, is what I'm knocking on here in the Dolphins facility. It's a, it's actually quartz. It's a simulated marble,
Of course it
which
is.
is uh, which is much better for spills if you're ever debating between quartz and marble for your kitchen. I went the quartz route. Dude, what do you have in your kitchen?
I think it's like I actually have no idea. I'm just
It's,
renting a place, so it's
it might
probably
be
something cheap.
laminate.
Yeah,
Might be laminate.
exactly.
Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't know. About Tua.
Tua, yeah.
Oh yeah. He's played every game. And that is the key to keep him healthy. They gave him this big contract, and people say he's overpaid. Well, he's very much overpaid if he's not available. And so it's kind of a catch-22 because he spends so much time trying to protect himself in the pocket and not spend too much time out of the pocket, because he's had injuries to his hip and hand and concussions. That's problematic. It's something he's really trying to work through. How do I like make some game-breaking plays while
Mhm.
not putting myself at risk of injury? That's a huge talking point and storyline down here in South Florida.
Yeah, it was something that we dealt with and talked to wide receiver Chris Olave about after his two concussions last season and how that ended the second half of his season. Definitely understandable. You mentioned injuries, Darren Waller possibly coming back. Where is the team at health wise?
Yeah, the bye week really comes at a good time. The Dolphins have been without their starting right tackle, Austin Jackson, for the last 10 games. He's expected to make his return, which will help the Dolphins in the run game because Austin is an athletic and aggressive right tackle in the run game. They should get Rasul Douglas back as a starting corner, which is important because Juju Brents was lost for the season in the Dolphins last game. He was their starter in the last game. And as you mentioned, Waller should return, which really gives Tua a big boost. So the Dolphins are getting healthy at the right time. They have, of course, like most teams, had some unfortunate injuries. They've been without their right guard for all but like 10 snaps.
Mm,
So, and he was their big free agent signing, James Daniels. So, I think that's part of the reason the Dolphins haven't had as much success as anticipated in recent years, injuries. But I am of the school that you cannot use that as an excuse. You can mention it as a reason, but all NFL teams have injuries, and the Dolphins' depth has certainly been tested in recent years.
mhm. When you look at this game and the matchup, what either side does well, it's still a little uncertain as far as what the Saints team is going to look like with quarterback Tyler Shuck at the helm. Is it what we saw against the Panthers in the win or the struggles that we saw against the Falcons? What do you think that this game is going to come down to?
Well, aside from turnovers, the Dolphins, obviously, like most teams, um, have way more success when they don't turn the ball over. They have had difficulty creating turnovers early in the season, but have increased their turnover rate on defense in recent weeks. So, I mean, look, the Dolphins are viewing this as a game they should win.
Mm,
I've predicted the Dolphins to win. There'll be mass panic and hysteria in South Florida if the Dolphins don't win. Um, I guess I don't even know what the people down here would do, turn their attention to the Heat, I guess. But, Dolphin fans are just really they don't know what to do right now because some of the fans are actually hoping the team loses so they get a higher draft pick. And that's
mhm.
where the frustration is because this isn't necessarily a top heavy draft, and there's certainly no surefire quarterback in this draft. So I think Dolphins fans are just frustrated, but I've been telling them to hang in because if you can get to that 6-7, then all of a sudden you have a Monday night football game against the Steelers with a chance to even your record at 7-7. And who knows? Crazier things have happened.
Well, they're still in the wild card race if they can string together some wins there.
Yeah, they were Dolphin fans. Some of them were excited that they were featured in the Hunt graphic on Amazon Prime and CBS and NFL Network. But after the most recent results in the AFC, where teams like the Jaguars and Colts and Chiefs all won,
Mhm.
they removed the Dolphins from the in the Hunt graphic, and that was a very controversial thing down here. And the problem is that the Dolphins are always in the Hunt graphic, and they're never in the first place graphic.
Right.
ever. Because
Yes.
it was like Tom Brady and then Josh Allen, and it's never going to end because now it's Drake May. And it's like, when the Dolphins fans want to know, like, well, when's their turn? And
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen, Erin. It doesn't happen.
But at least you get to live in Florida and enjoy the beach and the sun and all of that on the side of
That
this.
that is true. That is true. But that's always one of the conflicts. People say that some of these veteran guys, they sign with the Dolphins not to try to win a championship, but because there's no state tax, which
Right.
is we like that, and there's nice weather, and so it's hard to know why a
Yeah.
guy is signing.
As I ease into retirement, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean the Dolphins have tried to get younger. They decided mutually with Teron Armstead, who's one
Mhm.
of our favorites. He was a former Miami Dolphins good guy of the year for his cooperation and professionalism with the media.
Yeah.
I think that the Dolphins were like, maybe it's time to turn the page to this young Patrick Paul, who's really excelling as a second-year player out of Houston. Definitely has a bright future. And then I think Tehran was ready too with all the injuries that he
Yeah.
had dealt with. I've never met a guy who played through more injuries than Tehran Armstead did.
I know.
Unbelievable. The warrior. It's kind of like a hockey player. I don't know if you like hockey, but at
Yes.
the end of the season, they always, Aaron, after the team is eliminated, they always say, okay, this guy played with a broken foot and a broken hip and a broken back and a broken finger and a sprained neck. And they're like, wow, really? That was Teron Armstead. He like
Yeah.
played through all that stuff.
Well, we can definitely end on the fact that we both love Teron Armstead because he
Okay.
was great here as well. He's been great post-retirement. He's been back a couple times. And I know he was a staple there with the Dolphins as well for a long time.
Great leader.
Yeah.
Every locker room has its own vibe. And I think the Dolphins have sort of been seeking because they lost Calais Campbell, another great guy to have leading your team, and Teron Armstead. Losing those two guys, I sort of feel like all year they've been seeking for like, okay, who's gonna
Mhm.
replace them from a leadership perspective. Very underrated. Can't just talk about talent. You have to talk about leadership.
Yeah. I feel like we still have a few vets in the room here. You mentioned Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, but they're definitely trying to get younger here as well. So two teams both definitely needing wins this weekend. We'll see how it plays out. But Joe, thank you so much.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Now for Jack Del Rio. Jack coaches the Paris Musketeers, France's top American football team in the European League of Football, and calls New Orleans home. Some of the players and front office staff were in New Orleans over the past weekend, taking in the sights and experiencing some NBA and NFL action. Here's Coach Del Rio. Jack, or Coach, I guess I should say, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's great to have you back in this building.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
You have had quite a career in football. It started here when the Saints drafted you. I don't know if you want me to say when, but it's been a minute.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that day?
I remember the day went a little longer than I wanted it to because I went in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
I was an All-American coming out of USC, and I thought I would go higher.
Yeah.
So, but the bottom line is I was picked up by the Saints, Bum Phillips, and I'm like, okay, New Orleans, do I have to get my hip boots on? Am I going to be like paddling a P-row, to work? I had no idea.
Never been here.
I'd never been really outside of California, So it was, I had done some things like in Arizona, but I had really not ventured much from the West Coast. And so I was kind of frightened about that, kind of wondering, and so it was a trip being taken here.
What's so interesting is not only did you start your playing a professional career here, you started your coaching career here too. What drew you to wanting to be a coach?
It's really Tony Dungy. He's my mentor. Tony. One day I was preparing to be a financial consultant. I worked for Merrill Lynch, Ron Hebert here locally.
Wow.
And I actually had built a book of clients, and I was preparing to move seamlessly into the next phase of my career. And so Tony said he was in town, and he asked me to go to lunch, and he's like, "Are you happy?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he goes, "No, are you really happy?" And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not happy at all." So anyway, he said, "You should really. I think you'd be a great coach, and you should pursue it." And so I did.
What are some of your best memories of being here with this organization?
Well, getting my start here as a player, returning as a coach to start my career. And I started as a strength coach, an assistant strength coach, which they didn't even have those. When I started that, it was like a new concept to have more than just one strength coach. And so Mike Ditka gave me my chance. He hired me on a handshake. Didn't know how much he could pay. I was like, I don't care. I just want an opportunity. And so, what I remember about New Orleans and the Saints, great fans. I remember winning big on road trips and coming back, and fans lining the highway and welcoming us back like we'd won a Super Bowl. And it was just a big win on the road. But it meant so much to see the fans do that. And that's the kind of that's what the people here are just so genuine and love the Saints so much. You feel it, and I really appreciate it.
Is that what drew you to staying here? Because you have a home base here in New Orleans.
Yeah, home base. So what really drew me is my wife is from Lafayette. My wife is a Louisiana girl, and so and her family is down here, and so and we have a daughter, Lauren, that lives here, and so it's really, my wife was like, it should have just been a disclaimer. Like, when you marry a girl from Louisiana, you're going south the rest of your life. So, but I love it. We have good friends, good people, family, but that's why, because my wife's from Louisiana.
Well, everybody always has to ask. The food is the thing here.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite restaurant or neighborhood you like to hang out in?
Yeah, the food is amazing here. Neighborhood-wise, I love Clancy's. It's a great spot to go. Big fan of Commanders. That was like when I made it and got my first paycheck. That was like the place I went and celebrated. Went to Commanders. So, those are a couple of my favorites. I Mr. B's downtown to get some shrimp.
Yeah.
And it's just. There's so many special places in New Orleans that it's almost too many to name.
Yeah. It's so fascinating to me because I was looking at your bio, and way back when you got drafted by the MLB.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, I was
you
drafted
even
in baseball. Yeah.
started your whole football journey. Obviously you had been playing both sports.
Right.
But why did you decide to continue to go to college and not go in as you were drafted?
It was an interesting time in my life. So it was like, because the offer of the money, was, and it was substantial for me at that time. We grew up blue collar, didn't have a ton, but the offer was, come play baseball and here's a lot of money. And my dad's like, son, you need to go get your college education. You need to go play football and baseball. And you pick the school, and so USC afforded me the opportunity to do both at a high level, and so that was kind of it. The decision making was as simple as this: that was my dad's encouragement, but I love the physicality of football and the intensity of football, and so I didn't want to give that up and just go play baseball. And so I continued and did both, and then eventually decided, because of my love for the game and the intensity and all of that, the physicality, that I would make my career in football.
It's interesting that decision there has really paved the way for what you've now been doing your whole life. You're still coaching.
Right. I'm still in it.
You're doing it overseas now with the Paris Musketeers.
Correct.
How did that happen?
Well, it was one of those things. My wife, we've been married 38 years. So I've been in the NFL most of that time and playing and coaching. And she had always said, they have these leagues over there, and if they ever give us the opportunity, how cool would it be for us to live there and me to be able to follow the arts, photography and dance and all the things that she loves, and me to be able to coach football. So she said, please, if it ever is presented to you, please do it. I was like, okay. Like I agreed, like they could, this will never happen, And then sure enough, I got a call, and it was like Yogi Roth. He's like, hey Jack, you'll probably just say no. And I was like, not necessarily. No, I've promised my wife a long time ago that I would certainly take a look and potentially take one of those jobs. And he's like, really? So we made it happen.
Paris doesn't sound like a bad second home.
It's really cool to experience a wonderful city like that. And to see it from a side where you're there, not just pop in for a week and do it like that, but actually live there and feel it, and then still do the thing that I love to do, because I love to coach, I love to teach, I love to be a part of a team, and so we have all that.
Any difference that you've noticed between the league there and your time in the NFL?
Certainly, the talent is not quite the same. I think the biggest difference is the amount of time. So our players, we don't get as much time with our players. The players are here right now, in the Saints facility, and they have them all day. So we get our players work full-time jobs.
Wow.
And then they sometimes travel on trains an hour and a half to our practice, and then back home, and then at work the next day. So we actually practice at night, and we only practice a couple times a week. So that's a huge difference. It's the amount of time that you get with the players, the amount of things that you can do. It's limited because you have such a tight schedule that you're working off of.
Your wife's a smart lady, because I think she did her research and she realized that there would be less demands on you coaching over there. She's like, I'm going to get him back a little bit more if we're over there coaching.
She has said that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You mentioned that the players are here in the facility. They are touring the city, doing a bunch of things, getting to experience the culture here, going to the game on Sunday.
Right.
What's that experience been like? I think it's about 4 players or so that you have here, and then a lot of the higher ups in the team as well.
We actually, my wife and I have 2 of the players in our home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, staying here. So, so we're trying to show them a good time, and it's awesome to have them here and experiencing the States, experiencing the Saints. The Saints have been just wonderful, host. It's so great to be partners, really.
Yeah.
Partners with the Saints. I mean, we're the team I played for, the team I started coaching for, and now we're partners with them. It's incredible. It's and then, for our players to come and experience New Orleans, us to be able to show it off, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun, the connections that the NFL is building overseas and trying to expand their markets. I know it's a little tough traveling over there for some of these NFL games. I know that's always going to be a point of contention, with how long it takes to get over there. But it's great to be able to introduce the NFL to other fan bases that clearly love the sport.
Yeah.
As you guys have a league over
it's
there.
Growing. It's growing globally. The game is more popular than ever. And, you're just expanding the market. It's no different, really, than flying to Seattle.
From here, yeah.
I mean, if you're on the East Coast and you fly to Seattle, it's definitely no different than going over. So, it to me, the globalization is underway. It's happening, and football is such a great team sport, and so much is required. The precision of it, the physicality of it, the beauty of it is all on display now across the world. Mm-hmm. And so, countries are catching up, and athletes all over the world are trying to be a part of the NFL now.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see the international players that have come through the International Pathway Program as well to come into the NFL. So it's going both ways for sure. And you, a former linebacker, I got to ask, you think we got any good linebackers here on the Saints?
I love DeMario.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not only a great player who's had a tremendous career, but he is a prince of a human being. And I really have enjoyed interactions that I've had with him. He speaks. He does such a good job of representing himself, representing the league, representing linebackers all over the country. I'm just really proud to know him, and really impressed with him.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, he did a week in Paris earlier this year.
Yes.
Kind of, again,
yes,
developing that relationship between the two cities and the fan bases. So, yes, he's a great ambassador for the Saints and the league in general. So going forward, what's the schedule like? When does the season start for you? When do you get busy again?
So last year when I was hired late in the process, and they had visa issues, and I didn't get over there till like training camp started.
Oh, wow.
And we had basically a month, and then we started the season. And so this year it'll be much different. We're going to get over there like in February, and the guys, we have a core of guys that are conditioning right now, and these are things that were not in place last year. So we showed up to start training camp, and guys were out of shape and not as well organized and things like that. So this year we're going to have a much stronger off season, which will lead to a much stronger season. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I'll have to keep tabs, and I'll have to bug some people around here to see if I can get over there for a game, right?
You got to do that.
I think we have to. I appreciate it. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are all in town. I know this is your home base, but to have the team and the Paris Musketeers here has been great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
To close out the episode, our senior manager of youth football development, Austin Pasco, sits down with Bonnabel High School football coach Andre Anthony to talk about his journey to coaching and his first season at Bonnabel.
Coach, I appreciate it, man. Listen, we've got to know each other a little bit over this year. We came right before the season started with American Safety to donate some football helmets to your program. But look, we want to know who you are. Like, you're a local guy, right? You went to Carr, went on to LSU. Like, talk to me about what it was like, being from this area and playing at Carr, and then actually going to LSU to play.
It was a dream, honestly. When I was getting recruited, I always knew where I wanted to go. So I was getting offers left and right, but I always knew I wanted to play for the home state and be somewhere where moms can sit right there in the stand. So playing for LSU meant everything to me and my family, because it's always just been a dream for me to play in Tiger Stadium.
Well, look, not only did you play in Tiger Stadium, but you also play in the Superdome. Won for a state championship, which unfortunately you didn't get to win. But you got to go back. Right. You got to win that national championship. Talk us through that a little bit. I mean, talk even about, playing for Coach O. You know what I mean? What is that like?
Man, it meant everything for me, especially, losing in high school and then winning in college. That kind of helped me get past that. But, being able to play once again for my home state and play in the Dome and win a national championship is meant everything. It was so exciting. And then playing for Coach O, man, we had a pass. The time I walked into LSU, he was there. He recruited me, him and Frank. And then from the time I was leaving and getting drafted, he was leaving out too. But just playing for a great coach who poured so much in me and helped with my development on and off the field. We still talk to this day. He texts me after every win, send me news articles, just congratulating me and telling me how proud he is of me.
And that's a cool thing, right? Like, talking about from another guy that was a local legend, great coach, and now you. Right. Like, that's some big shoes to fill right there, ain't it?
Yeah, most definitely. He always, like I said, texts me and tell me how proud he is. I mean, I tell him all the time, like, man, look, this is, you helped me get to this point. You molded me and had his hands in the success that I'm having right now.
And going back just a little bit further too, like talking about great coaches, I mean, you also played for Bryce Brown, right? Yeah. I mean, like, talk about, like, what is that like playing for a local legend even too, you know what I mean? Like coming back and coaching for Edna Carr. Like, what is that like, you know, learning from him as well whenever you're playing?
Everything. Bryce is such a mind guy, mental guy. He's definitely helped with my development, especially out of high school. And that system that they run is like college-like. So everything that we did in high school and practice, it was the same thing we did when we got to LSU. And they honestly mimicked some of the practices and how we do things when I was at Carr off LSU. And just obviously that college atmosphere at a high school level, that's why they're doing good things. But he's definitely helped me, you know. He was like that father figure, big brother, that coach. Anything you needed him to be, he was there in that moment.
And so now we're kind of getting into it now, right? So you're learning from Bryce, you learn from Coach O. Like, how did you get into coaching yourself?
It was always something that was in the back of my mind once I got done finished playing. And I always used to hear, especially from O, we used to have these camps at LSU, the kids camps, and even me coaching the freshmen as they came in, or just coaching the D-line as a whole when I came a captain at LSU. He's like, man, you're going to be a great coach. I'm like, you think so? He was like, man, just watching you from afar, just how, you know, I teach the players, all the freshmen, people coming in, and also how I work with the kids. And now it coming together now in the position I am today is like, okay, it makes sense. So I knew once I got done and I hung the cleats up, I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
And so, like, talk to me about that transition, right, from LSU, because, I mean, you also got drafted. You also played a little bit in the league. So let's talk about that. Like, what was that like being drafted? Man,
it's amazing. Like, it brought so many tears and just joy because it makes sense. You know, for me, when I got drafted and hear my name called and my name come up on that TV, it's just like everything made sense as far as, like, the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears, like everything I went through, me having to sit out my first 3 games of my senior year at Carr, you know, obviously losing the state championship, and then everything that I was going through at home and stuff like that, everything kind of made sense. Even with the college, I went through injury. I tore my ACL and still got an opportunity to get drafted. So it was just so much going on throughout my life up until that point. It's just like it all made sense, like up and brought me to this moment. Like, hey, you know, if you keep going, push, persevere, man, like the sky's the limit.
And so once you got to the league, you had a few more injuries, all right? And so that chapter of your life closed, all right? And then you ended up becoming a coach. So, like, how did that come to be? You moved back home and then you just looking for jobs? Or, like, how did you end up, you know, getting to be the head coach at Bonnabel at that early age of 28?
I was honestly just getting phone calls, like just waiting, sitting around waiting for a phone call to get back in the league. And it's just like, you know, those phone calls didn't come. But the phone calls, the coach started coming. Like, you know, Bryce called me, Nick at Landry Walker called me. And at that time, I'm still like, man, I'm still trying to play ball. My son is just, he was just born around that time. So I'm knowing a lot of people just hitting me up like, man, you know, come coach D-line and things like that. So I was just like, nah, I'm straight, waiting. Got a couple phone calls from the Canadian League. That wasn't something I was interested in. But last year, the head coach called me, Dwayne Thomas. We had a relationship at LSU. He was a GA, and he called me. By this time, it's like, okay, months have passed. It's getting close to the season starting. So he was like, man, look, just come over here, come work with me. Hey, if you get a phone call, you can go. I just, you know, instead of just sitting out, like, I need a D-line coach. So I jumped into it, and once I jumped into it, I never looked back.
And that's the thing, right? Like, you kind of know, like, when the game's up, unfortunately, it's up, right? But then you're kind of saying it. You're like, you're waiting for that call, but then you're just like, nah, man, the coaching's calling. You know what I mean? Coaching is a calling, right? That's ultimately what it is. And, you know, like, you're from here. You're from this area. Coming to Bonnabel initially, like, you know this area, right? You're a part of this community. Like, what did you attract you to being a part of this whenever you got that open position as being the head coach?
Really the kids. Honestly, the kids, man. Like, they the ones that caught me. They the ones that wanted me to be around and decide to keep doing this. Like, once I fell in love with them, and just to see, you know, knowing their stories and the things that they've been through, and also how, you know, I helped in some ways. If that's just me asking how you doing, us talking, whatever that is about life or what's going on at home or about football, like, the kids are the main reason why I chose to be here. And that's why I do what I do for them and take care of them so much. And you see how they, you know, for them to repay me is how hard they're playing right now.
You know, we met early back in, like, I think it was August, right? Whenever we did the American Safety helmet donation for you guys. And I think only then you only had about, 30 kids out on the football team. And, your AD, he ends up telling me that you end up having 60, I think, right? Like, yep. What was the buy-in to go to double those numbers after we first met you?
It was really just the players going around school and just trying to, recruit guys off campus. Like, we got a school like 2,500 kids. So we have some athletes here. And then outside of that, when the kids talk and see the things like, they talk about, good about me, it's like people want to come be a part of that. Look, I had like 1 or 2 players that came in from other schools. Like, I just want to come be a part of what you're about to build. Like, at that time, I didn't know what it was going to become, but I knew I was trying to build something. And people just want to be a part of that. And, the kids want to come and then find the kids around campus who look like they can play football and things like that. Once we got them coming, and then they started being around the guys, being around the coaches, they kind of fell in love just like we did. Now you get the big number you have.
And so you're almost building that culture, right? Like, and then everything that goes into that. So coming into that season, though, you kind of talk about it a little bit, but hit on it a little bit more for me is like, what were those expectations in your first year? I mean, when you got the call to be the head coach, like what was like the ground running? This is going to be who we are as a Bonnabel Bruin.
Coming in, like I say all the time, I know, especially when Micah talked to me, he tell me, like, look, it ain't about the wins and losses right now. That's going to come. It's about building our foundation. So that's really all I was focused on, building a foundation, building a relationship with these kids, building a strong culture with discipline, structure, organization, how, I want practice to be ran, how I want things to be done in certain ways and things like that. And that's what I was really focused on. And the kids really just bought into that and just saw how much I cared outside of them knowing where I come from, me reaching the highest level of success in football. It's like, okay, coach know what he's doing. He's been around the Cars. He's been around the LSUs. He's been in the league. So it's like he knows exactly what it looks like. So if we just buy into the system that he's trying to implement, like, the sky's the limit. And so now you get a bunch of kids who just believed in me and what I was trying to implement at the school and at practice and as just individual as kids. So they bought in and it was all she wrote after that.
And so you talk about that buy-in, right? Like, I mean, you had a phenomenal year. I mean, you finished 7-3, win the first district championship since 1998, which is crazy. So let's talk about that night, right? You're playing against Riverdale. Riverdale, I think, was like 8-1. You guys were, I think, 6-3. Yeah. Like, how does that, that atmosphere and everything going for a district championship, like, what is that like?
Man, it's crazy. I was telling them, I'm like, man, look, y'all about to probably play it in front of the biggest crowds you ever played in. Everybody and their mama going to be out there. I tell them all the time, cool head, win a high game. Obviously, a lot of the players from Riverdale, they grew up with, so I get the attention and the competition that it's going to be. But cool head, win a high game, and also, too, it's hard. They say it's hard to beat a team twice. We beat them to win district, and then to play them in playoffs is like, I didn't want them to get to a point to where it's like, oh, we played them, we beat them. So it's like, oh, we already know what to do, and they be lackadaisical. Let's keep them focused. Keep them focused on the task at hand and what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep making history. And that's the whole thing we've been trying to do.
I mean, look, you've done a phenomenal job. I mean, you got a great principal, great AD. You got a couple of, former NFL players, too, on your coaching staff. Your quarterback coach, I think, won a state championship with Carr as well. So, I mean, you've built that culture. And all you got to do at the end of the day is do your job.
Don't forget to tune into the Saints pregame show Sunday, 11 o'clock Central with Ross Jackson and Scott Shanley. Ross is taking over for me as I'm on Pelicans duty. Game is at 12 o'clock on Fox, and then they'll have you covered with postgame action on NewOrleansSaints.com.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets.